You feel it the moment you wake, a silent knowing that your skills have never truly grown. You start things, sometimes with fire in your chest, and end them just as quickly, leaving behind only fragments of effort. You tell yourself it is lack of time, lack of talent, or bad luck. But the truth is sharper, more uncomfortable. You have never been taught how to truly learn, how to go beyond the superficial thrill of novelty and enter the deep, unshakable current of mastery. Ancient Japan solved this centuries ago. They created a system that transformed ordinary men into masters, not by shortcuts, but through a path of discipline, repetition, and presence. A system called Shuhari. If you follow it fully, you can learn anything 10 times faster than the average person. But almost no one survives the first stage because it demands more than curiosity. It demands surrender. Take a moment now and feel into the skill you have always avoided. Perhaps it is coding, a musical instrument, drawing, martial arts, or a craft you have dreamed about for years. Whisper it in your mind, admit it fully. This skill is calling for more than passing interest. It is asking for your commitment. You know it, and it is waiting for you. This is the life of Jordan Hale, 30 years old, a digital designer who has tried to master many things and failed. He subscribes to YouTube courses, starts tutorials, buys books, takes workshops, and yet the pattern repeats. He begins each new skill with enthusiasm, only to abandon it after 2 weeks, leaving a trail of incomplete projects and half-learned techniques. He feels cursed, convinced he cannot focus, that his mind is too scattered, that mastery is for other men, not him. You know this feeling intimately, because you have been there too, starring at the beginning of a journey and sensing that the finish line will never come. One evening, after yet another failed attempt to build a small digital prototype, Jordan sits in front of his screen. He deletes his code in frustration, closes his eyes, and feels a hollow ache, a subtle despair that whispers he may never achieve anything meaningful. This is the moment that breaks many men. This is the crucible where choice appears. Jordan decides he cannot continue like this. He needs a real method, a way to learn that transcends the distractions and superficiality of modern instruction. A method that does not promise speed but guarantees depth. He travels to Japan, seeking not just a new landscape but a new way of being. He wanders through narrow Kyoto alleys, drawn to the silent call of a shrine and the smell of incense in the morning air. One afternoon he enters a budokan, a hall where the floors gleam and the weight of centuries presses gently on his shoulders. He watches a master move alone, a man whose presence seems older than the wood beneath his feet. Every motion is deliberate. Every shift of weight is purposeful. The master performs a single irimi step with a short sword, flawless and complete. Jordan's heart tightens. He has never seen movement so alive. The master sees him and does not speak immediately. When Jordan finally asks how he learned this, the master smiles and introduces himself as Yushiba Morihei, a samurai and philosopher. He explains the secret framework behind mastery: Shuhari, Shu, obedience; Ha, breaking; Rai, transcendence. The master warns that understanding Shuhari is meaningless without living it, without embodying its stages fully. Jordan listens, unsettled and hopeful, sensing that this is the method he has been searching for, though he never knew its name. The next morning before the sun rises, Jordan stands on the polished wood, barefoot, facing the master. Yushiba hands him a wooden sword and gives one instruction: repeat the irimi step 1,000 times, day after day. Jordan begins with energy, enthusiasm flickering like a candle, but soon monotony grips him. 50 repetitions feel repetitive. 100 bring fatigue. By 300 his arms ache. By 500 boredom weighs like a physical burden. His mind screams to stop, to switch, to quit. Ego protests, whispering that this cannot be the path to mastery. Most men, even those who call themselves driven, would give up now. But not Jordan. He breathes and repeats again and again. You know this moment yourself, the point where novelty fades and only discipline remains. This is where learning separates the committed from the curious. The world rewards flash, quick wins, the appearance of progress, but mastery demands monotony. It demands presence. Neuroscience tells us that repeated, focused practice reshapes neural pathways more effectively than scattered effort, forging a deep internal structure that supports skill. Jordan does not read the studies, he feels it. His body begins to sense weight, balance, and timing. His movements subtly refine themselves. Awareness begins to emerge without thinking. After a week, Jordan's resistance peaks. He confronts the master and questions the process, claiming repetition stifles creativity. Yushiba replies softly but firmly, "Obedience is not limitation. It is the soil in which mastery grows. The lesson is not to enjoy the repetition. The lesson is to endure it, to allow it to transform the self." Jordan returns to practice, humbled, and slowly begins to feel subtle shifts. Movements that once required effort begin to flow naturally. Awareness and action merge. Then comes the second stage, controlled breaking. Yushiba introduces a second teacher, a Japanese calligrapher whose hand is steady and deliberate. The new teacher gives contradictory instructions, one day to relax completely, another to apply tension, one day to flow, another to hold still. Jordan is disoriented. His mind wants one clear truth, but the teachers demand paradox. This stage is the breaking of rigid patterns, the expansion of mental and physical flexibility. Neuroscience confirms this type of dual input learning dramatically increases connectivity and adaptability in the brain. Jordan begins to surrender to contradiction. He learns to move fluidly between extremes, to trust principles instead of rigid rules. His growth accelerates, subtle but undeniable. Days pass. Jordan practices blindfolded under pressure, adjusting, correcting, internalizing principles rather than memorizing motions. He feels less like a student and more like a vessel. The repetition no longer bores, it informs. The contradiction no longer frustrates, it teaches. Awareness is no longer separate from action. They are one. Finally comes Transcendence. Jordan stands in a dim hall with three assistants, all attempting to disrupt his movements. He closes his eyes and breathes, sensing rather than seeing. The first strike comes and he responds instinctively. The second, the third, each intercepted with a calm, precise flow. He does not think. He does not calculate. His body reacts as an extension of awareness. The stage is complete. Mastery is not speed or force. It is presence, embodiment, response without hesitation. Returning home, Jordan's transformation is visible. His calm confidence radiates, his movements are precise, his decisions deliberate. People notice. Some admire, some feel discomfort. His presence mirrors their own lack of discipline. And he does not shrink. He remains aligned with his growth, knowing mastery often isolates before it empowers. You recognize this truth in yourself, because when you pursue depth, others react to your reflection. Shuhari is not limited to swords or calligraphy. Jordan applies it to coding, fitness, writing, and music. The same three-stage loop, obedience, breaking, transcendence, applies universally. Fundamentals first, controlled variation second, pressure third. Depth multiplies, mastery accelerates. The 10 times faster learning comes not from hacks or speed reading, but from alignment of awareness, repetition, and challenge. Here is the brutal truth. Your lack of progress is not talent, it is consistency. You chase insight but avoid repetition. You crave novelty but resist monotony. You desire mastery but fear surrender. Shuhari exposes this without mercy. You either choose obedience, then breaking, then transcendence, or you remain stagnant. Jordan embraces this path fully and begins teaching it. He instructs students to choose one micro-skill, repeat it daily until stable, introduce controlled variation, break patterns only after consistency, pressure test, and finally teach another. Mastery becomes lineage. Transformation becomes sustainable. Now it is your turn. The skill you whispered at the beginning is calling. You stand at your own Shuhari. You know the first repetition awaits. You know the monotony, the challenge, the presence that will demand everything from you. Take it, begin, repeat, surrender, break, transcend. The ancient Japanese secret is no longer hidden. It is yours to live.